1. Russia's forced mobilization tactics. The price of desperation over 3 years into its invasion of Ukraine. Russia finds itself in a grinding war of attrition, one that is slowly depleting even the most fundamental resource, manpower. Faced with fierce Ukrainian resistance and heavy frontline casualties, Moscow has resorted to exploiting society's disposables, prisoners, ethnic minorities, migrants, those without a voice, without a choice, trading away the right to trial, the right to life, just to turn people into soldiers marks a deep institutional collapse. Here, the state transforms prisons into training camps, police into recruiters, and criminals into tools of war. The disappearance of over 58,000 prisoners is not just a statistic, it is the silent scream of a nation devouring its own people to sustain the war. To Stormzy, the modern slaughterhouse, the Stormzy unit, infamously known as the Suicide Squad, is the clearest expression of how little human life is valued in modern warfare. This is no longer about ideals or patriotism. It's the final exploitation of a crumbling militarist regime. These men receive no proper training, no chance of return, no remembrance. They are walking corpses, thrown toward enemy lines with the hope of absorbing a few bullets before falling. They are human meat shields, used to buy time for regular troops to reposition and reinforce. A chilling emblem of warfare driven by power, where morality and dignity are crushed beneath the gears of policy. 3. Recruitment bounties. When human life is worth less than livestock, the bounty of 100,000 rubles, $1,125 per recruited prisoner, revealed something alarming. Power in Russia isn't upheld by law, but by manipulating systems of reward and punishment. When a provincial officer earns just 40,000 rubles a month, selling a prisoner for 100,000 becomes a profitable deal. This creates a mechanism of humanitarian corruption where lives are converted into cash, and justice becomes a manhunt tool. The terrifying part, crime no longer matters, it becomes an excuse to turn someone into a soldier. A petty thief can be dragged into the trenches of Donetsk and die without a grave, without a photo, without a name. For Ukraine strikes back, precision strategy. Massive Russian losses. The attack on Saki Airbase in Crimea was more than a military was symbolic. By destroying multiple modern warplanes and inflicting hundreds of millions of dollars in damages, Ukraine showcased its increasing capability in long-range precision strikes. Saki is a key link in Russia's Black Sea operations, and its loss severely affects air support, reconnaissance, and aerial control over southern Ukraine. This wasn't just a blow to infrastructure, it was a blow to Russia's strategic confidence in Crimea's invulnerability. Operation Spiderweb, targeting over 40 aircraft deep within Russian territory, proves Ukraine has evolved from defensive warfare into proactive borderless offense. 5. The 2025 counteroffensive opportunity, or final gamble. The planned counteroffensive, involving 20,000 troops, 8 brigades, and elite UAV units, signals Ukraine's effort to consolidate its remaining forces for one decisive blow. But this isn't just a battlefield maneuver, it's a political gambit, especially as it coincides with US policy shifts. President Trump's sudden shortening of Russia's ultimatum, allegedly at General Donohue's suggestion, may signal Washington's intent to pressure Moscow into negotiations. But what if Ukraine fails? The country could suffer devastating losses, risk losing Western support, and allow Russia to regain momentum. This counteroffensive, therefore, is not just Ukraine's fight, it's a litmus test for international support, for Kyiv's leadership, and for the geopolitical balance of power after 2025. 6 August, the month of reckoning. Everything converges in August. Russia's desperate prisoner mobilization, Ukraine's concentrated counteroffensive, and quiet but unmistakable moves from the US in this scenario. Every bullet, every decision, every drone strike could determine the fate of not just a region but the entire European landscape for the next decade. August is no longer just another month. It is the crossroads of despair and hope, of war and peace, between Moscow, Kyiv, and Washington. Conclusion: this is no longer just Ukraine's war, it is a war between two visions of the future, oppression and freedom. Russia is pushing its society to the brink, spilling the blood of the voiceless to maintain influence. Meanwhile, Ukraine is fighting not only for survival but perhaps also for the right to shape Europe's destiny. And you, the one watching this war, are not just a spectator. You are witnessing a historical turning point where every passing day may reshape the world we live in for years to come. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this content insightful, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Your support is the driving force behind our continued effort to bring you honest and in-depth analysis.
Opposition to these makes it difficult for Russia to continue its military operations in Ukraine.
Ukraine Security Service, SBU. destroyed a Russian Su-30SM combat aircraft worth around $50 million in an attack on Saki airfield in Russian-annexed Crimea Peninsula on the night leading to August 4th. For more aircraft, 1 Su-30SM and 3 Su-24 aircraft were also hit during the attack on Saki airfield, that is a key Russian airbase for operations in the Black Sea. Su-30SM aircraft is estimated to cost between $35 million and $50 million. Russia's total losses from the attack may amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. The aviation weapons storage at the airfield was also hit during the attack, SBU reported. The security service stated that the attack was aimed at weakening Russia's ability to continue the war of invasion in Ukraine. The successful SBU special operation in Saki is another step toward weakening the enemy's ability to wage its war of aggression against Ukraine. The occupiers must remember that they will never feel safe on our land, the SBU said. It should be noted that Ukraine has scaled up drone attacks targeting air defense systems, radars, and ammunition depots in Crimea in an attempt to weaken Russia's military infrastructure in the peninsula that was illegally annexed by Moscow. Ukrainian intelligence launched a large-scale operation dubbed Spiderweb on Russian airfields on June 1st, targeting over 40 aircraft on airfields deep in Russian territory.
The Ukrainian armed forces are currently trying to quickly form a group for another counteroffensive. This point of view was expressed by Russian military expert Vladislav Shurygin. According to him, soon Alexander Syrsky may receive at his disposal up to 8 fully equipped and combat-ready brigades with a total of up to 20,000 people. In addition to this, according to Shurygin, the enemy is quickly forming UAV units, which are the main striking force of the Ukrainian army. Indirectly, preparation for a counterattack is confirmed by the strict economy in manning the regular combat brigades holding the front, where the manning of battalions on the line of combat resistance has fallen 35 to 40%. Reserves are primarily sent to the next counter-offensive grouping, Shurygin points out. He adds that the Ukrainian armed forces are in dire need of another victory to end the 2025 campaign. According to him, Syrsky needs a success similar to last year's adventure with the Kursk region, and the Ukrainian armed forces are ready for an offensive. The Observer also points to the connection between the upcoming counter-offensive and the sudden postponement of the Russian Federation's ultimatum, which US President Donald Trump shortened from 50 days to 10. Apparently, the commander of the US Army in Europe and Africa, General Christopher Donahue, who was in charge of planning and commanding the Ukrainian armed forces, reported to Trump about Kyiv's readiness for an offensive and the undesirability of delaying it until the fall, when the weather could seriously interfere with the course of military operations. And Trump, in his usual manner, immediately changed his mind about giving Russia time to conclude a peace agreement with Ukraine. In fact, this offensive can rightfully be called Trump's offensive. The expert writes, in his opinion, if the offensive is at least partially successful, then, together with tough sanctions, this will become a significant lever of pressure on the Russian Federation. In this case, Moscow will face another prospect of prolonging the war in an unfavorable role for itself as the defending side. However, if the counter-offensive ends in the failure of the Ukrainian armed forces, Trump will be able to shift the responsibility to Donahue, who dragged himself into this adventure. In any case, August will be one of the hottest months of the 2025 campaign, and we will need to exert all our forces to counter American plans, and we definitely have a week to spare. Vladislav Shurygin sums up.